The heavy wooden doors of Courtroom 7 creaked open as all eyes turned toward the entrance. Murmurs faded. Phones stopped recording. Even the clicking heels of the attorneys halted mid-step. What came into view wasn't a lawyer or a defendant, it was something far more compelling. A blind teenage girl, slender and pale, holding tightly onto the harness of a large golden retriever. Her eyes, clouded with milky whiteness, gazed forward as though staring into an invisible horizon. But her chin was lifted. Her spine was straight. She wasn't here to be pitied. She was here to fight. The dog, calm but alert, led her forward step by step, past rows of curious strangers. His golden coat shimmered under the sterile courtroom lights, his every muscle attuned to her presence. With every stride, tension grew. What was this girl doing here? Why did she look so fragile and yet so unshakable? If you believe in kindness, second chances, or the unbreakable loyalty of animals, please take a moment to like this video, comment your thoughts, share with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. These stories need hearts like yours. Her name was Lily Hart. At 17 years old, she had faced a life most adults would never imagine. She lost her sight at age 8, not in an accident, but through a cruel genetic condition called Leber's congenital amaurosis. It started with blurred vision, frequent stumbling, and light sensitivity. Doctors gave her parents the prognosis, but rather than embracing her through it, they walked away. The world abandoned her. First her family, then the foster care system, and finally the schools that saw her as too complicated. But when the world failed Lily, someone else stepped in. A golden-furred puppy named Max, himself a rescue from a roadside ditch, was trained for a second chance as a service dog. He had scars of his own, both physical and unseen. But with Lily, he became whole. And with Max, so did she. Max wasn't just Lily's guide. He was her anchor. From age 10, he walked her to school, helped her through crowded sidewalks, stood protectively between her and rushing traffic. At night, when the nightmares returned, memories of abandonment, silence, darkness, Max would climb into her bed, resting his chin gently on her arm. It was the only comfort she had. But now, Lily stood in court because Max had been taken away. 2 weeks ago, Max did what he was trained to do: protect. While returning from her job at a used bookstore, Lily noticed Max grow tense. His body blocked her path. She heard footsteps behind her, quicker than hers. She turned, but saw nothing, of course. Before she could panic, Max lunged. The man trailing her fell to the ground, screaming. A knife clattered to the sidewalk. Witnesses screamed. Max had bitten his arm, refusing to let go until police arrived. The attacker, a known felon, was taken into custody. But somehow, he managed to file charges against Max. Claimed he had just asked for directions. Claimed he never drew a weapon. Claimed Max was aggressive. Because of legal formalities and pressure from his attorney, Max was seized by animal control pending investigation. Lily wasn't even allowed to say goodbye. For the first time in years, she was alone again. Her days collapsed into shadows. She stopped going to work. Her world became even smaller, even quieter. Panic attacks returned. She bumped into walls. Tripped over her own shoelaces. But worst of all, she felt forgotten, just like Max must have felt, wondering where she was, why she hadn't come for him. But then an angel stepped in. Mrs. Kinley, the elderly owner of the bookstore, noticed Lily's absence. A widow herself, Mrs. Kinley had a deep love for animals and a keen intuition for suffering. When Lily returned to collect her final paycheck, barely holding herself together, the woman asked, "Where's your shadow?" That simple question broke Lily. She collapsed in the back room, sobbing uncontrollably. For the first time, she told someone everything, from her childhood, her blindness, to her fight to get Max back. Mrs. Kinley didn't waste time. She called an old friend, Anthony Bryce, a retired attorney who now volunteered for animal rights cases. Within days, a case was built. Evidence was gathered. Eyewitnesses came forward. And now, Lily stood in court not just for Max, but for every service animal ever wrongly punished for loyalty. The courtroom listened as Anthony presented the facts. Video surveillance showed a man following Lily for several blocks. One witness recalled seeing him reach into his pocket. The knife found at the scene bore his fingerprints. But Anthony didn't stop there. He showed Max's certifications, his 7 years of perfect behavior, his awards for canine excellence. But what shook the court most was Lily herself. She stepped onto the witness stand, guided by Anthony's voice. Her hands trembled, but her words did not. She spoke of trust, how as a blind child, she had learned to hear betrayal in footsteps, feel cruelty in silence. How Max changed that. How he was the first living being who never left her side. She recounted their first meeting. His nervous bark. Her outstretched hand. The way he leaned into her, as if to say, "I won't leave." The room was still. Even the courtroom clerks lowered their pens. Then she said, "I don't just love Max. I need him. And I believe he needs me, too." The judge, known for his stoicism, removed his glasses. His eyes shimmered. "I'd like to see the dog," he said quietly. Moments later, a door opened. Max walked in, his tail low, his fur dull. He looked older, worn out. But when he caught Lily's scent, he ran. Leapt across the courtroom, straight into her arms. The room gasped. Lily fell to her knees. She clutched him like a child clings to their parent after war. He whined. She sobbed. They were one. The judge, visibly moved, declared Max a hero, dismissed the charges, and ruled that no service animal could be separated from their handler without a full evidentiary hearing. Lily won. But this wasn't just a legal victory, it was the start of something larger. The days after the verdict were a whirlwind. News stations covered her story. Donations poured into the bookstore and local shelters. Anthony helped pass a proposal to fund emergency legal protection for service animals. Mrs. Kinley began offering her backroom for free dog training workshops. And Lily became a symbol of quiet resistance. She returned to school. She graduated. She spoke at events. And every time, Max was right there. Sitting by her side. Sometimes resting his head on her knee. Sometimes watching her like a soldier guarding a queen. But he was always there. Years passed. Lily grew into a confident woman, with her own non-profit that trained dogs for visually impaired children. She called it the Max Trust. Its motto, "You never have to walk alone." If this story touched your heart, if you felt that lump in your throat, or remembered a moment you too felt alone, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to Pawsitive Tales. Your support helps us continue telling real, soul-stirring stories that the world needs to hear. Special comment request: if you believe animals can save lives, type the word "always" in the comments. Let's flood this space with love.